tip.
Good afternoon. It is July 3rd, 2019. You're listening to a Little Column A, Little Column B, hosted by Will Limonos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How you doing today, buddy?
What is going on, Will? You used to be a runner. I got a running story for you today. There was a 70-year-old man run the LA Marathon. Something fishy. People were a little suspect. He finished it in 2 hours, 53 minutes. All right, under 3 hours? Wow, that's pretty fast, especially for an older gentleman like he is. Well, the next closest guy was 4 hours, 10 minutes. So over an hour later, they do a little bit of research, and they figure out for a certain 5K stretch, he ran, which would have been the world record for just a 5K, not a 5K part of a marathon, just random one-time 5K for his age group, and said, yeah, no, the math does not work on this. They got some video that shows him going off the course at one point, as well as like an eyewitness corroborating the story as well. They get a hold of him. He goes, nope, didn't cheat, didn't happen. I was just looking for the bathroom. So not only did he run the fastest split, it also was while he was going to the bathroom. So it seems you've been caught very red-handed. Have you ever been caught just super red-handed like this, and it's just so bad you're just like, I'm just going to continue to steer into the skid on this?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, that sounds. I don't know if I've been caught by like something quite like that. That seems like a bit of a stretch. It's also just a bold. It's an accusation to begin with, but it's also just like a bold thing to kind of stand strong on. Like, there's nobody else that's ever done this. It's not like you could say this is how I did it because somebody else did it. You know, this is kind of the technique I did or whatever. But this seems like a real bit of a stretch. I can't think of anything that I've been caught that red-handed on. I really try not to lie. I think we were very honest with our listeners. I'm sure there's something on the podcast that we can go back and say, yeah, you got caught red-handed not knowing what we were talking about there. But we don't really have that many police kind of listeners. I don't think we have too many people that really call out everything we talk about. For the most part, I think everyone just takes it as is. Pure fact. What about you? You got something that came up off the top?
Another option is, could you think of why would you cheat on something like this? It's not like there's a lot of fame. If he hadn't cheated, we never would have heard his name. So I guess his name is kind of there. There's definitely worse things you could do to get your name into the news. But it's not like marathon running in general is the most prestigious, let alone for a very specific older age group. And just seems odd. What's like the best case here? Is that
how
you go tell people like he's got the fastest record?
How old
70.
is he? 70?
70.
Oh man. I don't know. This is like one of those things where it's like, do you give him any sympathy for being 70 and just trying? Like even just lying like
well,
now.
It said he only got into marathon running like 10 years ago when he was 60.
Oh man.
But since then, this is not his first time cheating and is not his first time getting caught. So this is a habitual thing.
This is his thing. This is his hobby right now. His hobby is to get away with fake running times. There are worse hobbies to have. I mean, if you're going to break a crime or if you're going to lie to people, there's definitely worse lies in the world you could come up with, especially if you can do it routinely like this guy's doing. So I think I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm not happy about it. I think as long as everyone knows this is not a real thing, like don't count this guy. Like, I think he's going to be forever judged. But I think he sounds happy. He sounds content with everything. He doesn't sound like he's going to stop doing this. I mean, if you were him, would you just stop doing this at some point?
Do you think like maybe he's just trying to be like the bad boy of marathon running?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just like because he got disqualified, so he's banned from the California International Marathon, which was not the LA one, but he probably is going to get banned from that one. So it's like now you're up to 2. It just you just keep going and. Maybe he hates running marathons, so he's just like, oh, I'm gonna cut the course, and then I hope they ban me. So it's like, sorry, honey, I thought I like doing the marathon, but they just keep kicking me out because I'm too fast.
This whole story could be saved by like one thing, and it's kind of like the Lance Armstrong effect, where if something good comes out of all this, like Lance Armstrong cheating and all the championships and all that, is like really looking back at it, is like nobody really cared about cycling to begin with, but what everyone really did care about was the money that he raised for the cancer and the awareness he created. Uh, I think that part Lance will always kind of have on his side of like, well, without all this, none of that ever happens. Do you think there's any hope for this guy to do anything? I mean, maybe not quite as positive as that, but is there something like what good can come out of this? Is there anything positive that can come out of this?
I mean, there's a little more backstory on him. Seems like a decent enough guy. He's a active community member who devotes his free time to low cost healthcare, mentors Latino students, and is an assistant track coach at LA Loyola High.
Man,
So
I was
it
really
just seems
hoping.
odd. Like, how do you exactly tell your people you're mentoring or people that as a track coach, hey coach, you got to run all 26.2, right?
Hey, you know what? If you're not first, you're last. Or Ricky Bobby, man, that's what he's telling his students right now. He's not teaching ethics. He's teaching how to
Yeah,
win. He's a winner.
yeah, I get that, but maybe you don't come in an hour plus ahead of the next guy.
Yeah, maybe you
You
should be a
could
little bit
have
smarter about this.
you could have dialed it back a little bit. Do you think that the plan was to win by that much, or do you think he like was like, okay, if I cut through here, I'm probably gonna get caught up, and like was expecting it to be closer, and then just really botched the numbers?
All right. Well, even if you cheat of all this, like how far do you think he actually ran? Like this isn't just a straight loop. Like he still had to run like a certain amount. Even cheating, there has to be some. Like did he run 3 miles in the time it took everyone else to run five? Like I still think even cutting through isn't like a guarantee you're gonna win. And it's almost like
well,
he cut through two.
you could look up the course beforehand and get an idea, and I would think you'd pick your spot.
Oh man. So do you think like people are keeping an eye on this guy now? Like anytime he enters a competition?
Oh, oh, for sure. There's a whole there's a website called marathoninvestigation.com, and now this is not specifically for this gentleman, but just in general, because this is a thing of people cheating marathons. And once again, there's really no real reward. It's like you're doing, like, I think for a majority of people, just doing a marathon, your friends and family are impressed just by that, of just like you did the marathon. So it's just odd that you would also go and try to cheat. So there's a whole website that you can peruse at your leisure, and there for sure they got their eyes on this guy. He's gonna have some extra scrutiny. They might even have someone out on the course following him at the next one.
Do you think that this is kind of almost one of those things where it's very similar to the Lance Armstrong thing, where just nobody really cares about it anyways? Like it's like do whatever you want.
Oh,
Like nobody.
nobody.
Like the outrage is only
Yeah.
going to be to these select few people who really truly care about the marathon, and they're probably successful marathon runners themselves. There's nobody outside of it who's like a big fan of any runner. At least I don't think that
Oh
there's a
yeah,
fan base for that.
yeah. That's why I brought up, because it's one of those kind of weird topics, but
Like
no one really gets hurt. Like it's like, ooh, you're cheating in a weird way, and yup, cheating's wrong, but like I'm not really super upset about this.
all right, well maybe that is the
So
positive thing
yeah.
that he's bringing out of this is some actual attention of this. I bet this guy right now, even as the unethical cheater he's known as and been proven has more fans than the best marathon runner in the country.
I don't know about fans, but people are talking about him.
I'd say fans. I don't know. At the age of 70 right now, to still have some balls on someone like that, like I think that's an impressive thing. I mean, I don't know if I admire it quite as much, but I can respect it. I can see. I don't want that to be me, but if it does end up being me, I wouldn't show any shame about it.
I don't know. By 70, maybe he just got lost.
It's-
Maybe he really believes. Maybe he truly believes he didn't cut the course.
yeah, maybe he wants you to think that. Maybe he's just that much smarter.
Yeah. He's on to me.
Well, speaking of being that much smarter and being on to you, we can talk about all this NBA free agency. We've had quite a couple days, a whole week of just I don't even know where to begin with it all. Big news for a couple teams, a couple losers out there. I think the Knicks have been kind of the hot topic of missing out on a lot of stuff, but I I'm not as outraged as everyone else. I just thought it was kind of ridiculous that the Knicks' entire game plan for more or less the past 10 years has been somebody's going to come here. That's why we need cap space. We need cap space because somebody's going to come here and they're going to bring someone else. And it really feels like that idea is gone now, and that possibly and hopefully New York might actually get on a direction of actually building and drafting and kind of figuring out how to not be the big market team anymore, because they're really not anymore. They need to be like a Utah team where you make trades for players, you draft really well, and you don't really count on free agency players coming there. That you just have to kind of grow your own. What do you have? I mean, do you really think that the Knicks have any shot at a free agent ever with their owner?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. They're New York City. How long was it? Like a year and a half ago, and maybe even a little bit last year. The Lakers just made mistake after mistake after mistake, and I'm gonna blame myself a little bit about this because I definitely had a bunch of fun at their expense, and now it's really coming back to backfire on me. I think some of that might have been, all the excitement about Tom Brady and winning Super Bowls, and that like led into it, and I think I'm getting punished a little bit for it. So I've admitted that to myself, but it did not take them long to snap of the fingers. They got premier talent there. I don't know exactly how the path would work, and maybe it really is the owner with Dolan just not running things great. But I think that it wouldn't take too much for them to make some smart moves that, in the next couple of years, all of a sudden it's like, wow, the Knicks were horrible forever doing all these bad decisions, and then, oh, that's right, they're still in New York City and people still want to live in New York City.
I think they could certainly flip the switch like that. I just think it's kind of ridiculous, though, to base your entire strategy as a team that's trying to develop on that. Like you're basing it on a home run swing that you don't really have very good odds at happening. I just don't see how you can constantly ask your fan base to be patient and wait for the home run. Like that's just it just seems frustrating for me. Now I'm not even a fan of the Knicks. It just seems like something that would get very old for me if I was a fan of them. Like this just wouldn't be. This isn't fun. They're constantly in chaos. They constantly have different directions to go, and it also feels like even if you're a player there, if you're not going to develop into something, even Porzingis got traded. It's like nobody's even safe on this team. So even if you go there as like a mid-level guy, you're going to get traded, and worst comes to worst, to make cap space for the guy that's never going to come there. Like that can't be a fun organization to play for.
To open up space for the next mid-level guy. It's a Ponzi scheme.
It really is.
Keeps going in a circle.
They got such a mixed bag of guys right now. I don't even really want to get into it all. I just think that they've been on the hot topic of it all, and it's interesting to me. It feels like it finally made sense this year. Like, all right, not only did we not get it, but these two guys, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, went 20 minutes away from us. They went to Brooklyn instead of New York, and more or less could have done the same thing had New York. And New York just seems like that unattractive. So it had to have sunk in at this point, right? Like, do you think that they're going to change their next 5-year plan and not really base it on, was it 2021 when Giannis Antetokounmpo was a free agent? Or is New York always going to be that?
Here's what they did do this time was they didn't sink all of their money into long-term deals. So they didn't go out and get a bunch of kind of mid-tier guys, overpay them for the next 4 years. Julius Randle, they gave a 3-year deal to. If you're going to give anybody a 3-year deal, I think he's worth it. I think he could do some things. And then that 3rd year is a team option. The other 5 players, Taj Gibson, Bobby Portis, Wayne Ellington, Reggie Bullock, and Elfrid Payton, those were all 2-year deals with all of them, the second one being a team option. So this is all locked in for next year, but they can get out of it. So I think this was like a generally a good move. It's like a Knicks good move. But I think if you have that sort of cap space, you can almost do more what Atlanta is doing a little bit and other teams have done in the past is, hey, we got a bunch of cap space. You have Chandler Parsons? Yeah, send Chandler Parsons in your first-round pick, and, we'll send you back, something. And it's like, hey, we will just pay as a way station for your horrible contracts, and you just pay us some, first pick here, second round here, depending on how much money it is, and you could just use your cap space to your advantage that way. And then next summer, you're ready, like right back in it. Says maybe you have to do the same thing again for a second year. You're gonna start accumulating assets and use being bad and the cap space to your advantage rather than yeah, we're gonna sign all these just role guys. Like all these guys around a superstar would work, but without a superstar, it's just a bunch of guys.
It's just not. It's not going to get the job done. And the other thing that's got to be frustrating as a Knicks fan is you're getting all these draft picks and you're getting all these kind of 2-year guys that they're basically 1-year guys. Like you said, they can clear out the cap space. But you're hoping that in this meantime that you could get some draft picks, hopefully draft well, and then develop these people. But drafting isn't easy either. Like this is not a guaranteed thing, and they haven't had a number 1 pick, and even some of the higher picks they've missed on a couple. All right, Frank Ntilikina, I'm sorry, I think he's a decent guy, but that doesn't
These
look.
are yeah, and all for not necessarily because they weren't playing well, but the 2017, 3 of the top 4 guys have been drafted, and the Suns have traded their 2016 and 2017 first round draft picks for like pretty much nothing. So all this tanking for the lottery balls didn't quite land right to kind of be in the same spot you were before.
Well,
it's like
I think that's
sure thing. I mean, they got R.J. Barrett. He's gonna put up a bunch of shots. You still got Knox there. You could. I think you just have to set the expectations. I think part of the free agency why it went so poorly is because Dolan came out right after they traded Porzingis and almost like the fix of that mess said, oh well, this is the clear cap space. We were for sure gonna have a bunch of interest. Like was just super cocky. Like there was no doubt. But if you just kind of lower the expectations a little bit and say, hey, we're building something. Let's see what happens. You can become a young, fun team, kind of like the Nets have become in the past couple of years. They were in a real hole, and it was just like, oh, hey, we're not expecting like anything really good to happen. Let's just kind of see, and you develop players, and you can make something happen, but it doesn't happen overnight.
It definitely doesn't happen overnight. Part of me just thinks that they should have kept Porzingis, and that they would be so much better off right now. They would be one step farther along. I mean, they would at least have one draft pick that I would say more or less is proven. To a certain degree. I mean, I don't know if he's going to get any better. I don't think he's going to get any worse, though. I think best case scenario, he is what he is. And that's pretty good. Now you're hoping to get another guy like Porzingis who you just traded, though. That just seems so backwards to me that you moved him, you struck out on free agency, and now you're going to hope to God that you're able to draft another Porzingis is what you're hoping for now. A guy you just had and could have re-signed.
Porzingis did get hurt, and it's all the rumors said was not going to re-sign with the Knicks. So if that's the information, then it's like, all right, you take that with a grain of salt. You're not exactly sure what's going on, but if that's the actual information, yeah, you got to pull the ripcord if the guy's not going to sign, and you're going to lose. You're going to lose an asset for nothing.
Well, I understand that. I get that. Whatever. We don't need to talk about the Knicks. Well, let's transition in some other free agency talk right now. Out of all the teams right now, I mean, I don't want to break down every single trade. I'd rather more hear of which teams are now better and which teams are now worse. Like, is there any real winner that sticks out to you right now? Is like, yes, that team is for sure better today, and it's because of the free agency and some of the trades or whatever the moves they've made. They are now significantly better. Like who has been the real big winner of the summer so far?
I think for the short term, and this is not for like the championship, but this is for this team could be a little frisky. Is the Pelicans? Wasn't all because of free agency, but you just pick up someone like JJ Redick of just like, hey, he's a shooter. He's gonna be able to space the floor. He has never missed the playoffs, so got that streak on the line. But an adult in the room that knows, hey, this is what needs to happen. That's something away from the Sixers, who, despite having the real good young guys, sometimes it's like if JJ wasn't out there, they had no shooting, and it was like the offense kind of sputtered. I think that more long term, I think the Warriors are better off than I would have thought like a week ago. Of okay, lock Clay up. Not going to play next year, but he's going to come back. And I think that was the biggest surprise, the D'Angelo Russell. I did not see that coming at all. Did you?
No, I mean, how could you? I understand why they did it. It was a really smart move to include him in the trade and to essentially just get something back. It's better than nothing. And even if it doesn't work, he's a totally movable asset. He's going to be under a pretty big contract right now, but I think somewhere some team will give them assets for this contract at some point. I mean, I think.
So do you think this was a purely an asset move? Like, because I heard it came out pretty quick. I think it was Mark Stein said, yeah, he's for sure going to get traded from the Warriors sometime on this contract. But I don't know why that would be a thing right away. I could see mid next year things aren't kind of fitting. It turns out that he and Steph are basically a sieve on defense and can't stop anybody. But it seems odd that, a half an hour after the trade happened, that immediately it was like, well, he's going to get retraded.
Well, it depends what they're able to get back. It really is going to have to see what the rest of the market is. I mean, it's also the Warriors are in a weird spot right now. The injury to Clay, I almost heard that they should trade Russell because they should tank this year. They should get one more draft pick. They should just throw out this entire year. And the only reason that doesn't work that doesn't work because of Draymond Green is a contract year. That's the only thing that kills it.
Why would you do that? Think if you were any other team and you could acquire 2 All-Stars, would your immediate thought be we should tank?
I'm just saying.
You still have Draymond, you still have Steph. Like, I get Clay's out, and it's like, yeah, it might, like, you're not at the absolute peak you're at before. I don't think that puts you in the we're in the Suns and it looks like the Hornets, like bottom of the barrel, like can barely win any games. I still think they could do some things.
All right, do some things is very different than win some championships, which is what there has been on the resume and on their agenda for the past.
I don't think you could play Steph and Draymond and not win enough games to avoid tanking.
So you got them in the playoffs then. You think there's without a doubt this team is making the playoffs next year.
I wouldn't say without a doubt because I mean you're much thinner, one sort of injury, no more Iggy. See where Looney's at now that for like more of a regular season than okay he had a couple of good games for 2 weeks and you kind of you overplay that with a small sample size. But I think there's no reason that they can't be competitive.
I just. For me, we've talked about this.
We've talked about this. Perennial all-stars.
We've talked about this on the podcast all the time. The worst place for a team to be is in the middle. You either want to be on the bottom or the top. It feels like they're in the middle right now, and you're treating
not like this. That's like a continual for a while, and you're just spinning in that motion. It's okay. We're kind of standing pat a little bit, and then we're getting another perennial all-star, an all-NBA type talent next year or the end of this year. So would you say you just sit Steph and Draymond for the whole year and
the whole year?
All right, let's just wrap you guys up.
Yep, I really would.
That is gross.
I would schedule Steph for another ankle surgery right now today and just have him out until Clay comes back. And I would let Draymond run the team as best as he can so that he can have get a contract.
This stuff. You can't just Anthony Davis this stuff and just be like, oh, you're just gonna take 1 year of your prime and just not play. Like, don't these guys care about what their legacy looks like? I mean, both their legacies are obviously awesome already. They got a bunch of championships. They're going to be fine. But I just don't think you want to throw away, career scoring points, career minutes, all that stuff. You could win more accolades to help the Warriors out to get a better draft pick, which we just talked about. That might not actually help you. You have no idea. You say you are actually truly horrible and you have the best odds. Well, then you end up with the 6th pick. What does the 6th pick get you? Like maybe a rotation player in 4 years? Like, well, then you try to trade him. Like maybe you can trade him for something. I think it's, especially with those flattened lottery odds, that the whole just free fall tank is not a good idea.
All right. I have an expectation they're not going to be that good next year. If you think they're going to be good and they're going to be competitive, by all means, go for it. I just don't think if you're not competing for a championship, you're not doing this team any good. This team is built for championships, and if they're not ready for it this year, just wait till next year and give it another shot, a real shot, with hopefully maybe a young guy that you could trade into something else, or a young guy that doesn't cost you so much that could just give you a couple minutes here and there. And it's a whole lot to ask for, and it's a lot of what ifs. But the other thing is, what if Clay comes back and he's not okay and he's not that good, And what if Draymond leaves next year? I don't know why he would, but you're screwed almost. If Clay's not the same,
So
you've got
then,
him under a giant
well,
contract. Draymond leaves
you
because he
then
sees this as a sinking ship, and you're stuck with D'Angelo Russell and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. That's not a good core. When you look at the rest of the NBA, that's not something that I'd be happy to have going forward.
this is 2 years away. The league changes super fast. I think that you have to have plans, but you can't just say, "Oh, woe is me. Clay is never going to be the same. Draymond has no interest in coming back, and D'Angelo Russell has lost it." It's like next year they're going to have one was an Eastern All Star, but they're going to have 3 All-Stars day one. Like not a lot of teams have that.
Yeah,
I know they're thin, but I don't think that that's the type of team that you just say, "Nah, nope, definitely not a chance." We have no idea what's happening with the Rockets right now. The Lakers are still missing a bunch of players. If they get Kawhi, that's a whole other story. Utah looks like they're making moves, but they don't have the same experience as the Warriors have. I still think that you come into the year expecting to win, and then maybe at the trade deadline, then you can make moves from there. Of, ooh, yup, this isn't working. Okay, now we have to do something. But from the very get go, to be like, oh, we have 3 All-Stars. Oh, we don't have a fourth and a fifth this year. Yeah, we should probably just throw the towel in. This is silly.
oh, all right. Well, part of me just feels like last year they were so top heavy and that they had no depth at all, and a lot of that was to injury. But even some of the other guys that were coming off the bench, they just weren't the same as they were in the past. And I just think that this team is again top heavy and has even less of a top head threat. They don't have Durant anymore. They're not going to have Clay. I just it wasn't enough last year. I have a hard time believing with even less it'll be even close to enough next year. So part of me is like, even losing to the finals feels like they were miles away from winning it. Like they really they gave a hell of an effort. Right? They tried. They certainly tried to make it work, but it just felt like this team's not good enough right now. I also
Well, they had some major injuries.
I think
Even before Clay got hurt, he missed, what was it? He missed game 2 or was it game 3?
I don't even know, 3 or 4 I think.
Yeah. Yeah, so he missed the game before he even tore the tore his ACL. So I don't think it takes too much to have them have the roles reversed, and we're still not sure if Kawhi's going to go back to the Raptors. And so now you're looking at the Raptors are in a little bit of a free fall. I'm like, what are they going to do?
I think they're kind of in the same situation. Like if they don't bring back Kawhi, I'm shopping every single person on that team to just kind of get it all back together with some young assets. I'm building around Siakam. I'm looking. I'm trading Kyle Lowry for D'Angelo Russell. Like I'm doing that tomorrow. I'm
Pretty sure you can't do that.
What I know.
Well, actually, maybe we're still in the period where that would just turn into a 3-way deal, rather than, because I know once you trade someone and it's locked in, there's usually like you can't trade them again for a certain amount of time. But it might. We're in that silly period where I think all these signings and trades are all still in the nebulous of they haven't. Ink hasn't struck paper, or they haven't been filed, or however it works, of that you could still finagle some things.
Well, you talked about Kawhi, and I feel like there's a new story, a new rumor about him every day, and none of which I don't think anybody can trust. I don't think there's one story out there that's like, yeah, that sounds like Kawhi, because we don't know who Kawhi is. We don't know anything about him. We really don't know what he's looking for or what he wants within a team. The only report that I've heard that I entirely believe that I think this is true is that he's interviewing – the teams that he's interviewing with and asking about is their coaching staff and their training staff of being like, how do you guys handle injuries? Is it okay if I bring in my guys? Is it okay if I get second opinions? What happened with the LeBron injury last year? How did you guys handle that? And from my understanding, those are the answers that are going to dictate on whether or not he signs there. I really don't think it has a whole lot to do with basketball. I think he thinks he's a great player. He's going to be on whatever team he goes to, suddenly going to be very good. And as long as it's not a trash team that if he can still compete for a championship on that team, and he's happy with the training staff, I think that's where he'll end up going. I know in Toronto, I think he was a little hesitant on trying to run it back based on the GM wasn't what was it, Yuri? He re-signed him.
Yeah.
I think that was another scary thing. He was like, look, this guy made all the moves last year. I don't know who the other guy's going to be. We got lucky this year that everything kind of clicked, but if If the new guy comes in and he's not able to make the same moves, or if he makes poor decisions, and I'm stuck here with this new guy, like that doesn't work. That doesn't sound like something I would want to sign up for long term either. The other rumor that is easily my favorite one, though, actually, I don't know if this is true or not, but I like this one the most. Is so the Lakers did all this crazy thing to create the cap space, right? And they made cap space so that they could more or less pay all of it to Kawhi Leonard. And the longer that Kawhi Leonard waits, the more free agents start to get signed and picked up to kind of these second level, second tier kind of guys. That means if Kawhi goes anywhere else, there's less guys available for the Lakers. That he's almost intentionally hurting the Lakers by not signing anywhere anytime soon. That they're missing out. They're saving all this cap space for Kawhi Leonard and missing out on all these other potential people, and that they could be stuck with nothing after. Do you think there's any truth into that? Like, is Kawhi that spiteful?
I don't know why he'd be specifically against the Lakers. I like it. I like the general idea. It doesn't make a ton of sense. Also, not sure why he hasn't made a decision yet. I just would think with they say, oh yeah, you couldn't talk to anybody until Sunday at 6 p.m. But deals are flowing through immediately at 6 p.m. So clearly tampering's happening and going through, and no one cares about that. But it's just you would have thought he would have had all the information he needed by 6 o'clock, just like all the other guys did. So I'm just wondering, is it follow up? Is it waiting? Like what exactly is it? And to the Lakers' point, yeah, there's really not many guys left, right? Like who are like the guys that are unsigned that you were kind of thinking of like, ooh, here's a guy.
I mean, I don't think there's a guy out there, but I think, and we could talk some DeMarcus Cousins too, but I think DeMarcus Cousins is still a guy that's he's gonna play somewhere. There's no way this guy doesn't play anywhere. But I think at the point now he's not gonna get the money he wanted. I don't think he's gonna get as many years as he wanted. He's going to have to more or less he'll be lucky to do what he did last year in Golden State, and he just needs to decide which team, again, can compete for a championship that he might actually be able to help with. I think staying in Golden State makes the most sense for him if they're able to work out the money and he's happy with it. But I don't know, maybe the Marcus Morris maybe, who was in Boston last year. I think that's somebody the Lakers should be looking for. Not exactly the perfect fit. But where's he going to go?
I'm wondering what's going on. Yeah, I'm wondering what's going on there. I'm wondering if he was expecting to get more money, and all the other teams kind of went, no, not so much. So he's holding off, thinking he's going to get the money just because his second half wasn't great, but his first half was amazing. Like, he was in fringe all-star conversations, which that was definitely unexpected, as well as he was always the guy that was kind of not like revealing dirt, but it always seemed like he was the one that would say something like, hey, like, we're not playing as a team right now. Like, things aren't quite right. We got to get it together before we're going to be successful. And still was able to kind of go out there and do his thing. And I'm thinking like he was expecting more money, and it's not a lack of interest. It's just maybe he was expecting to get more money or more years or something.
Well, I think the one thing he has going for him is that he wasn't playing a whole lot of minutes. And he played in a lot of weird lineups off the bench, like a lot of strange things. And you know what? He showed up every game, and I know his second half of the year, his shooting numbers went down, but I still think he went out there thinking, like, I'm going to do everything I can to help this team. And sometimes that's going to be some bad fadeaway shots, but, sometimes you need somebody to just put the ball in the hoop.
Just put the ball in, yeah.
And I think a lot of teams in the NBA would be very fortunate to have a guy like that come off the bench. And even for the Lakers, I mean, I know they're going to have LeBron and AD doing a majority of the work, but if those guys are out or for whatever reason, if one's injured or something like that, you're going to need a Marcus Morris guy. You're going to be really lucky to have somebody that you just throw him out there. And any lineup, he can play defense, he can guard multiple positions, and he can score.
He can knock down threes if you because LeBron and AD are for sure going to get double teamed. You want someone that's going to get the ball and is not only going to be in the right spot, but also super confident that once I get it, I'm not hesitating. I'm going right up with it, and I'm shooting it.
I don't know where he ends up. I don't know who the Lakers are going to use to fill up the rest of this roster. I really think they're so far all in on this Kawhi Leonard thing, and that they're terrified of the idea of, oh no, what do we do now? Because like you said, who else is left out there? There's not a lot. I don't think trades. I think a lot of teams are more or less settling in on what they got right now, and I don't think they're gonna.
Hmm.
I don't think many teams are gonna want to do deals with the Lakers, anyways. I mean, why would they? Why would anyone want to help them? What do the Lakers have to give anything, anyways? I mean, I don't think they even have a chance to do that. It,
I don't know. The Suns traded Kyle Korver, so or no, they got Kyle Korver from Memphis, so they could they're gonna buy him out, so that helps out the Lakers. They they bought out Tyson Chandler to give him to the Lakers. So I think there's teams that are out there doing it,
I mean, do you think
trying
either of
to
those
trying to
guys?
make Clutch happy.
Do you think either of those guys are actually prepared to play 82 games in starters minutes? Tyson Chandler and Kyle Korver, even if
Well,
it's with
Tyson
those
Chandler,
two.
that's not this year, but Korver, I don't know if Korver is. Oh yeah, probably Korver's not a starter anymore, but he's definitely somebody. I think I put him above J.R. Smith.
Not that far above. At
J.R.
some
Smith
point,
didn't play last year.
I
Have we
know.
seen J.R. Smith?
No,
Do we know how much he weighs? Did he balloon up? Has he been shooting? What has he been up to? I haven't heard anything.
did you want to hear something? I'm kind of enjoying the peace and quiet of it. I don't need the J.R. Smith in my life. J.R. did nothing to enhance my life. All right, it was just constant headaches and goofball things of a guy who somehow had the luxury of playing with LeBron James for way too many years. Like I envy that guy. You're not jealous of that person? Like that could have been you. I mean, what did
Oh,
J.R. Smith ever
no.
do?
We've talked about this before. I hate J.R. Smith. He's a dirty player. I'm out on J.R. Smith. Just because he didn't play in the league for a year doesn't mean that goes away.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen to him. I don't know where. Do you? I mean, I have no real reason to say anything. But I mean, what do you think Kawhi's gonna do? I mean, do you have any idea?
I do a 1-1 in Toronto.
If,
But I think Danny Green's the only one that's not of the main guys that's under contract, and so I think that you'd prefer that he sticks around. But I mean, the guys are a little bit older. You'll have Gasol for the whole year, definitely a year older there, but Siakam could definitely even improve more. I think that and it's 1 year. You do the LeBron 1-1 of the next year under contract. The next one's a player, and if it goes well, you go from there. And if it absolutely collapses, you are out of town and you're back in California where you want to be. But I think I would think it'd be really hard to walk away from a championship team that's mostly still intact. You talk to the general manager, talk to Masai, and say, hey, what kind of things do what kind of little toys do you think we can get maybe this year or at the trade deadline? And he tells you and gets you excited. And I think you have to take another shot at it. You don't get these many opportunities in a career.
if he signs in Toronto, are they immediately the favorite in the East?
Yes.
And if he doesn't sign in Toronto, who's second?
The
Who's
Bucks.
you're giving the Bucks?
They won the most games this year, and they have majority of the same team.
I know Malcolm Brogdon did miss a lot of time last year, but I just think
Not
not
not to mention that it sounds like they re-signed Brooke and they're signing Robin. I mean, you have twins on the same team. Who's gonna be able to stop that?
I don't know. I don't know about that, but they also lose Mirotic. Mirotic is going overseas. That's gone. I just think I don't know
He
why.
only came midway through the year, and he helped a little bit. But I think that's a guy that you can replace, and you can peanut butter those minutes over, and that's not a huge loss.
I'm very skeptical of that. I also think Milwaukee went so far in on all of this to try and say we need to show Giannis that we're willing to do whatever it takes, and he wants this guy. We're
Very
keeping
much
this
so.
guy, and that's fine. I think you need to obviously side with your player. Your player is your fan base. He's your economy. He's everything. But in like 2 years, when Giannis is a free agent and he's like, oh man, you guys locked up Brooke Lopez, Eric Bledsoe, and Chris Middleton, and they're not getting the job done. And I don't really have any way out of this. Like if you're Giannis, you're really stuck there. Like this is it. Do you think that becomes an issue this year, next year, or at all?
Wait, you say stuck because it's stuck if it goes poorly. If it goes well, we're in the perfect situation. But I do agree that Milwaukee has to do all of the things to send a very clear message to Giannis that we are serious about this. We're not afraid to play the luxury tax if we need to. You are in your prime right now, and we're going to do everything that we can to get you a championship. So you have no interest in leaving.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think the whole East is very fascinating. I feel like Philly made some interesting moves too, but I don't know if they're necessarily better.
Oh, that one hurt the most.
I think that hurts us more personally than it does, I guess, roster wise of the Al Horford going there. But them losing Redick
that
for
one
me,
hurt the most.
them losing Redick, I that's just not somebody you can't just pick up another shooter like Redick, especially on a team that doesn't have a lot of shooting. Like that should have been priority number one. I think Tobias, they were forced into keeping him. Of saying again, Embiid and Simmons want to win right now. This is our window to do it. We need somebody. Tobias was here last year. He can kind of do a little bit of everything. But I think they're really in jeopardy of hating that contract again, too. Somebody was going to have to pay Tobias. I just don't think Philly felt like they were going to be the team. I really thought they were going to be like, yeah, sorry, Tobias. I'm glad you got your money, but yeah, good luck in Memphis or something, somewhere where nobody's ever going to see you again. And then they were suddenly like, oh, no, Redick's gone. We need to spend this money on somebody. I guess we will spend it on the guy.
We just used a bunch of assets, and
yeah.
We don't have much to show for it.
So I don't think they're necessarily improved because of what they lost, and some of the pieces they gained are good, but I think the pieces they gained don't really replace the good stuff they'd had last year. Like, they didn't really replace any of the shooting. And as well as they lost Jimmy Butler, who I thought was the only guy that can kind of get a bucket when you need it, So, but I don't know. Apparently, Jimmy was a whole other thing. Actually, while we're on the topic of Jimmy, what is Pat Riley cooking up in Miami over here? I can't figure it out. All I know is that he is a mastermind, and I have a lot of faith in Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra that they are up to something. All right, the moving Whiteside, the getting Butler, the keeping Dragic, who I think was in part of that deal at some point. Are you excited for Miami, or do you like? When do all these pieces just suddenly settle and you're like, oh no, Miami did it, man. They rebuilt overnight. Like, is this a this year kind of thing, or do you think they're still a couple years out?
Not concerned at all.
Not even a little bit.
They got rid of Whiteside, which I think opens up many more minutes for Bam Adebayo, who I think is ready to make the big jump. Whiteside was definitely a malcontent and was just he just didn't have it anymore. So get him out of there, I think definitely helps. Because partially you got Jimmy Butler coming in, who was pretty good with the Sixers, but every other stop along the way in recent years, he's been not so happy. So the Sixers were pretty successful. It was only for part of the year. I think a full year in Miami where you're just going to kind of be middle of the road, and then the questions are going to come like, hey, Jimmy, why do you think the team's not playing better? And he's just going to get a little upset himself. Dragic has definitely declined. He has not been he's been hurt, but I don't know if a full offseason being healthy can get him back to where he was before, but he's getting paid a lot of money that I don't know if he's quite producing on that.
Well, do you think that has to do with motivation, though?
Miami doesn't concern me.
I think Dragic's situation was, what am I playing for?
I think they're still trying to trade him. I think they're trying to do the same thing they did with Whiteside of like, hey, if we can get rid of him, yeah, let's do that. We'll take somebody on the cheap. Yes, please.
I don't know. That seems. I get he hasn't been great of recent time, but I don't know where you're going to get to replace him. Somebody has to play with Jimmy at some point, and you're going to have Jimmy locked in for a couple of years now. And I don't think you're hoping that on the back end of Jimmy's year that you'll suddenly have some developed young talent. I also think giving up Josh Richardson was kind of a mistake. I don't think that was the wisest decision. That was the wrong guy to get rid of. But I don't know.
I probably had to get Jimmy.
I think I don't know. I trust Pat Riley. None of it makes any sense to me right now, but part of me just thinks like you're going to look at this in like 6 months and be like, wow, Pat Riley knew exactly what he was doing, and he somehow pulled this all off again. Maybe I'm the only one, and I'm just kind of giving credit.
What exactly is his track record? Like, he put together the big three, but besides that,
I just think he's a smart guy. I think he's a basketball mind that most people in the NBA are intimidated by, and I don't think that he's made the worst decisions of the past, even the post LeBron thing. The thing is, he really got screwed with the Chris Bosh stuff, and that's nothing. That's not his
Yeah, that's a
fault.
tough one to recover from.
Because I
Yeah,
actually think
I
that the
agree.
team they'd had left over, if Bosch was on it, is a playoff team. They may not be a championship contender, but when you're a playoff team and you got a guy like Bosch, you're one trade away for another star, and then now you're there. You're in it again. I think that kind of blew up the entire plan because they did have some good young assets.
Especially with the uncertainty of it turns out it was a career-ending injury, but not knowing for sure at the time and not knowing, it's not like a ACL sprain where or tear where okay, it's gonna be a year, it takes a while, but at the end of it, you'll pretty much be three-quarters of what you were before. Okay, we can kind of plan out for this. But with the blood clots, it was we just kind of wait and see and hope. And you check in a month, nope, no good. Another month, and before you know it, it's 2 years later, and you've just been paying this guy max money, and he can't even play at all.
I do think that they've drafted really well. I think seeing where Miami was drafting every year, it's not like they got a whole bunch of top picks, but where they drafted, I think they drafted pretty well for the most part. And I actually think they are underrated in kind of the talent they've developed. I think they've developed a fair amount of players. Granted, none of them panned out to be superstar studs, but I think a lot of them ended up being playable assets that most teams would be attracted for, or they would be
Which
excited to keep.
where they're drafting is how they should be graded.
Oh, then I think they've
When you're
done great. Then I think they've
yeah, when
done.
you're drafting mid to end of the first round, you shouldn't be expected to be getting all-star selections. If you can get a couple of rotation players, you're doing well.
And I think they've done that. I think they've done a great job with that. So I don't know what they're doing. I just seeing him make moves and get aggressive. Pat Riley's only aggressive if he's got some master scheme and some big plan here. But I don't know what the next move is going to be. And I'm looking at the team right now, and I'm a little confused, and a little fascinated, and I don't know. I would be excited if I was a Miami fan, but I'd be a little nervous that it was like maybe this is all for show and this isn't real. Maybe this is kind of a facade at this point. Like you're not really seeing. It looks good. It sounds good. It sounds exciting. It kind of feels like Miami basketball is going to make a run for it again. And in all reality, it's like, yeah, we just traded a whole bunch of. We traded our trash for your trash, and it's all the same.
Yeah.
Nobody's really improved out of all of this. Would you say there's any real big losers thus far though? Like what's the worst contract signing you've seen so far this year? I don't really feel like there's been anything exceptionally bad. Like there's no like what were the bad ones a couple years ago? Like the Luol Deng one was notoriously bad.
Yeah, anything the Lakers did, there was just some real bad ones. I mean, there was for sure some
who's the
overpays.
big guy too? Who's the big white guy? Foreign guy.
Because he played for the Cavs.
Yep. I can't even think of his name, but he made a bunch of money.
Made a bunch of money and like immediately didn't play.
I don't think there's been anything quite like that this year. I think some of the guys that would get contracts like that, like a lot of the Knicks guys, like you said, they may have overpaid them, but it's only for a year, 2 years, worst case.
And you had the cap space, so it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not, oh, I gave this guy money for 4 years, so this is gonna hurt for a while. I mean, some of the older guys, somebody like Al Horford right now, it's like, okay, yeah, he could definitely help out, but does he decline quicker than you're expecting?
Yeah, I don't know what you do with him on the back end of that year 3 and potentially 4. I think Tobias Harris is the same thing too.
Super healthy.
I think Tobias Harris is another suspect contract. I think in 2-3 years you may be like, oh man, we paid this guy this much. Okay, I know we didn't really have much of a choice, but now you really don't have a choice. You're stuck with him. But I want to give the NBA for the most part kind of a good little round of applause though. I think for the most part nobody's done anything super boneheaded. I don't think any fan should be up and hands up in the air and outraged of really anything. I think everyone was very cautious with the amount of talent that was out there. I think some of the pairings are a little weird for some of them, but sometimes outside looking in, you don't really understand it. You got to see the guys play. Should we talk some Boston stuff? Do you want to talk some Ennis Cantor, some Daniel Tice?
Finally, that's what the listeners have been waiting for this whole time.
No, I don't.
Are you ready? Are you ready for the Kemba Walker era to begin? Are
I'm
you
not.
excited? Where are you at?
I don't know. I was actually just going to put him under potentially really bad contract, and I was going to say even worse contract could be potentially Gordon Hayward. I like
But
the
that wasn't signed this year, and that was a major injury. So if any one of these guys first game of the year next year breaks their ankle in half, then oh yeah, of course it looks like a bad injury. But you can't play the game that way.
No, I get it. I like the Cantor signing a lot.
Or he comes back this year, and I've been hearing some good things. I'm listening to some Boston guys. They've been saying he's looking mean, he's looking lean. He got that aggression back, and maybe it turns into that he's the best signing of the summer. Ever think of that?
Like you're way too optimistic for me to take anything you're saying seriously. I can't see it because I last year I would have thought worst case scenario we do this. I didn't think we would do what we did. It was well below my expectations. There was nowhere in my mind did I ever expect that to go that far low. Like I didn't think it would be that bad. I thought like yeah maybe we'll struggle. Maybe Cairo will be a headache here and there, but worst case scenario we're Western or Eastern Conference Finals taking a team to 7, and we're gonna have a shot. Didn't think that it would ever go as bad as it
That
did.
didn't happen.
That didn't even kind of happen. That like we knew that wasn't even gonna happen going into the playoffs. Like that's how bad it was. Is that we saw all the signs all year, and that we just knew like there's no way this is gonna work. So now I'm off the gas. Like I'm totally hesitant on everything Boston's done. I don't know how good Gordon Hayward is gonna be. I think losing Al Horford leadership wise could completely crush this team if the right guys don't step up and really make an effort to kind of control this thing because somebody's going to have to step up and be the guy right now because I think last year that was the problem is there was a division. There was like Kyrie on an island over here trying to lead the troops, and then I think there was some of the younger guys over there. Also, this is a huge year. Like Jalen and Tatum, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little harsh, but this is the year. Like if they don't pop this year, we've wasted the past 3 years hoping for them to develop into something they may not ever become. And this is the year. This is the year. I think it's all in on this year. If those guys don't do it this year, I'm looking to hit the reset button, or I'm moving those guys, or I'm trying to figure out. Think of the amount of trades we could have had for those two guys that we held on to, hoping that they would become something. If they don't suddenly become something, you're not going to be kicking yourself thinking we don't have Anthony Davis, we don't have Kawhi Leonard, we don't have Paul George. We don't have any of those guys, and we kept these two because of that. It's a lot of pressure.
I think that's a poor way of looking at it because it could have easily been, oh, we traded these guys for Anthony Davis. They turn out to be really good, and Anthony Davis leaves, so we have nothing. It's like you can play that devil's advocate game either way.
You have an expectation that
be
those two guys will be good this year. Do you think one of them will be an all-star?
One of them's got to be an all-star this year or next year.
I think they have to. I think that's required. If one of them doesn't make an all-star team this year,
or at least they got to start being in the conversation.
Fair enough. I think like Draymond last year was not an all-star, but being an all-star in previous years, or maybe had like he's just of that caliber. Like I don't think even if he wasn't voted in last year, you have to be of that caliber. And if you're not, man, I'm sorry, I'm done. The only thing Boston needs to be excited about though is that maybe we can let Brad Stevens coach the team again. And
we're gonna be super young. We basically have a college team.
And yeah. Let Brad do his thing like he did 2 years ago, and just hope that we play really hard and that teams are not looking forward to playing us. Like I think that's one thing. I think we had a target on our back this year. We definitely took the best punch from every other team in the NBA. I think they were very excited to beat up on us and kind of show the young guys this is where you guys stand. You know, don't think this is going to be a thing. And we just imploded. It's just a disaster.
I'll be interested to see what Brad and Kemba are cooking up. Because until Kyrie came to town, pretty much anyone that came into Boston, Brad was able to kind of squeeze something better out of them. I mean, he'd never really had someone as good as Kyrie, and I think that Kemba's a step below Kyrie, but still very much above all those other guys. So Is there something that he can do to utilize his skill sets or the way he sets up plays that can push Kemba even to a higher level than he was in Charlotte?
Well, while we're on the topic of the coaching staff right now, are you excited about bringing in like 3 new assistant coaches this year, or is that something making you a little nervous? I know we're getting 3 new people.
I did not get your name, but we hired a female assistant, which I think is pretty progressive. I think it's pretty cool of a thing to do. The Spurs have done it. I'm not sure if any other teams have done it yet, but just kind of showing, hey, we're willing to get whatever person is going to come in and help the team win, regardless of what their gender is. And I think that just shows our commitment to winning.
It's Kara Lawson.
Thank you.
Is the name.
I saw her practicing with Carson Edwards the other day.
Yeah, look. She looks like a great pickup, and we picked up a couple other people as well. I don't know their names right off the top either. But part of me just thinks that bringing in new people and a new roster and all that, like maybe we might have made too many changes at once, but
stuff did not work last year. I don't think we can make too many changes.
That's the problem with all this is like I don't really know who to blame last year. I think it's easy to put it all on Kyrie, but there's no way it was all just that. Like it had to have been so much more.
No, for sure not. I'll joke about it, but I don't think it was. There was definitely too many things pulling in different directions, or too high of expectations, or just something. But it was just frustrating to be a fan, and it did not work.
Yeah. So it really depends on how you want to put the blame on who last year, and depending on where you put the weight of the blame on, you could say we were pretty close, we're really far off. Like it could really go either way. It's like, well, if Kyrie wasn't a jackass and could get along with people, we would have been a championship team. I don't know if it's quite that easy to say. If
no,
I don't know. So making all the changes like this, it feels like we were really we weren't even close as even we thought we were. Like we were that far off of a disastrous season. But you know what? We got another shot, and I think the East is just as wide open as it's ever been, depending on what Kawhi Leonard does. If Kawhi Leonard goes west, I think Toronto is still a decent team, but I'm not scared of them anymore. I'm not really scared of any team in the East if Kawhi leaves. I think he's the only guy that really establishes Toronto's head and shoulders better than every other team in the East. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited for. I guess another little homer kind of note here. Any fear of Isaiah Thomas taking it back out on us, being in a Washington Wizard uniform?
That news came out super late at night, and so I had missed it. And then it wasn't until like later on the next day I kind of did some research, like, hey, what happened there? Like, I hope someone's looking for him, and just think it's really interesting. Like the last time he was really good was against the Wizards, and now he's gonna go play for the Wizards. But I have only the best of wishes for Isaiah, and I hope, especially with John Wall not being there, that he can fit in there, and there's just like no concerns. It's just like give him playing time, let him do his thing, and that he can get even just close to what he was a couple of years ago, because that was just so much fun to watch.
I think it's a great signing. What's going to be awful is I don't know how the fan base of Washington really feels about John Wall at this point, but I know they're going to love Isaiah if he has even the slightest bit of success.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to be seeing them being like, we're paying Isaiah like $4 million, $2 million. Like they're paying him nothing this year. He's basically, in terms of NBA contracts, he's more or less working for free for the amount of talent they're going to gain out of it. And you're paying John Wall a bunch of money, tons of bags of money.
40 million or something.
And he's not going to play at all this year. And I know that's not his fault. He's hurt, but it's really hard in kind of the perspective of a fan to say, well, this guy gives us this, and the team's kind of fun to watch, and he only costs this much, and the other guy, yeah, he's a little bit better. But how big do you think the gap is going to be between that? Yeah, are we even sure he's better? Like maybe we're not. So I'm part of I don't I'm not rooting for Washington, but I will root and support Isaiah Thomas. I think he did more than enough for Boston to earn that from us to just be lifelong fans of him. So I wish him best of luck. I think it's going to work. I think it's a great signing by Washington. Out of all the moves they've made, I think that was by far one of the best things they could have done. Is to just get a guy in that can throw some minutes around. And from what I heard in Denver last year, a fantastic mentor. I mean, Isaiah doesn't play at all in the playoffs last year, and Denver still does make some pretty good noise out there. And I'd be excited for that. I'd be excited to share a locker room with Isaiah. So.
Definitely.
Well, we just hit about the 1 hour mark here. Is there any NBA stories that we didn't get to that you wanted to get to? Otherwise, we're going to wrap things up here.
No, I think we definitely for the second podcast in a row definitely nailed all the NBA topics. So if you like the NBA, you're probably a fan. If you are not a fan of the NBA, you might not have listened to all these episodes, but that's okay.
Don't worry. Next week will be a little bit more of everything. It's just there was so much going on. It's hard not to cover it.
Yeah, you can't skip it. It's all good stuff.
The NBA landscape has changed drastically, and I don't know how it's all going to settle. I still don't even know where everyone's going at this point. I can't wait till the day that this is all done and I can actually go look and examine all the rosters and see who ended up where, because Utah's making a whole bunch of little signings here and there. Dallas is still staying kind of aggressive, and we still don't know where Kawhi Leonard is going. And that, for me, just seems... It seems pretty fair to say right now that he's the best player in the NBA, and we don't know what team he's going to play for next year.
This is wild.
Even when LeBron was doing it, I feel like we had a decent idea of... I guess we got a decent idea of where Kawhi's going to go. I don't know. How do you think we hear the news, by the way? Is this going to be like a Facebook post, an Instagram post, a press conference, a tweet? Like, what are your expectations for the fun guy Kawhi Leonard to announce where he's signing?
Maybe that's what's taking so long, because he's writing an article.
He's writing the article. He's got
the like the Players Tribune. Maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe that's why it's taking so long.
Oh man, do you think there's any chance he goes somewhere we haven't talked about?
I think it would have to be a sign and trade, because I don't think anybody else has enough money left anymore.
Yeah, but any team in the NBA would, if you wanted to go there, it'd be like, yeah, we'll trade whatever you want to get you. Like, yeah, that's done, no problem.
Yeah, but then from his side, then you run into the Carmelo Anthony situation of now the team I was going to just traded all the good pieces, and now I'm kind of on a team by myself. So that's a tricky bridge to cross.
Well, stay tuned for next week. Make sure you check out the website, lcalcb.com. You can check out all the podcast info on there, a little bio about Zach and I, as well as all the old podcasts. Hopefully we'll have some news to announce. I want to wish everyone a happy and safe 4th of July. And make sure you follow Zach at his Twitter, which is...
WickedZman24.
We'll be back next week, Wednesdays at 3. Check out soldbywill.com for all your San Diego real estate needs. And we'll be back.
Little column A, little column B.